Hey folks, Ron here. How's everyone? Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it may be for you when you're watching this. Today, oh, and here we are now. Today I'm in front of the home with the little guy. This is the home where Benjamin Bugsy Siegel, mobster who started Las Vegas, was murdered. In fact, that first floor window next to the front door, you can see it there with the bars on the window. I can't go onto their property, I'm not going to, but supposedly that's the one where the bullet came through the glass. So a little bit of the background, I'm sure you've heard the story, even if you're not a mob historian or a historian, maybe you've seen the movie Bugsy starring Warren Beatty. Ben Siegel was part of the Jewish mafia that worked in tandem with the Italian mafia. Ben Siegel and Meyer Lansky. They were both sort of fictionalized in the Godfather movies, 1 and 2, as Moe Greene being the Bugsy Siegel character and Hyman Roth being the Meyer Lansky character. Now, having said that, if you know the famous line, and all Godfather fans will know this line, and I'm a huge Godfather fan, Godfather Part 2, where Hyman Roth is basically confessing to Michael Corleone why Hyman Roth, is trying to have Corleone killed. He says he's talking about Moe Greene, who was sort of his best friend, and the Jewish mob guys coming up together, and Moe Greene says, or Roth says, talking about Moe Greene, he says, "Someone put a bullet in his eye. No one knows who gave the order." I'm going to come back to the house in a minute. That was taken from the whole true story of what happened to Bugsy Siegel, and I'll call him Bugsy Siegel because that's how we know him. Supposedly he hated being called Bugsy, he wanted to be called Ben or Benjamin. His true name, his given name during his bar mitzvah. I think he was bar mitzvah. Anyway, but the home we saw, and I'll come back to it, was actually the home of his girlfriend, Virginia Hill. So Bugsy Siegel, just like Meyer Lansky, rose through the ranks in New York. I believe they were both from New York, and were common street urchin thugs, criminals, and rose up the ranks and eventually became very powerful mobsters. And the thing that Bugsy Siegel's probably most famous for is, like in the movie Godfather 2, when look at these beautiful homes, when Hyman Roth is talking about him, Bugsy Siegel really started Las Vegas. He built the first major hotel there, and it was the Tropicana. Now, it's also rumored that the Tropicana was his nickname for his girlfriend, Virginia Hill, his lover, that he was having an affair with. Now, we don't know. All we know is that Bugsy Siegel started the Tropicana, and there was Teamsters loans involved and everything else. And the theory is that eventually the money that he was spending on the hotel became way too extravagant, way too much, and the mob wanted Bugsy out of the action, and they killed him. And that Meyer Lansky might have even sort of participated in, like, what, I'll do it. Like, if you have to kill my friend, let me take care of it, have my guys do it. Look at this beauty with all the sculpture. But no one will ever know for sure. Probably. So Bugsy Siegel was killed. He was assassinated. He was killed in that home, which belonged to Virginia Hill. I think he was there alone without bodyguards or associates, which is also kind of interesting when you're a major mob figure. Los Angeles was run by Mickey Cohn. He was the mobster of LA, so I'm sure it had to be a sanctioned hit by Mickey Cohn. Another beautiful house there. But again, these things we'll never know for sure. All we know is that, just like in the movie, somebody put a bullet in his eye while he was lying on the couch reading the newspaper and killed him. Now, what's also interesting is that Virginia Hill happened to be out of town. I think it was 4 days prior. So there are theories that she was warned to get out of town Virginia Hill was very street smart. She was sort of a mob mole, and she knew her way around town. So was she warned to get away? Was she a co-conspirator? We don't know. All we know is she wasn't there, and she would have been obviously killed as well. But just Ben Bugsy Siegel was killed on that night, and another unsolved mob hit. Although obviously it probably went through Meyer Lansky, and the guys in probably the mobsters of probably Lucky Luciano, who also knew Lansky. I mean, who also knew Ben Siegel very well. I mean, there's no honor among thieves, or at least there wasn't then. So that's what happened. In a minute, I'll come back to the house and we'll take a look at it again. All right. You know, what's really interesting too was that there was a mix, Hollywood and the mob, maybe up till the 70s, maybe up to the 80s, maybe even now, but particularly 30s, 40s, 50s, into the 60s, but I would say probably particularly 30s, 40s, 50s. The mob, Mickey Cohn, very close with, there was a blend over between the studio bosses, Hollywood starlets, and the mob. George Raft, actor, close with mobsters. I mean, he wasn't certainly the only actor that's been close with mobsters. I mean, that's gone on for decades, but there was a real connection. Mickey Cohn, the LA mob boss, probably was well acquainted with all the studio bosses in LA and the movie business and a lot of the starlets, and they probably had interest in controlling the studios to some extent. I don't know for sure, but it's absolutely possible. And nightclubs and bars and restaurants, absolutely. And that went on in a lot of major cities, but particularly in Los Angeles, where the movie studios were and where some of the actors and actresses. That famous scene in The Godfather where Michael Corleone convinces Johnny Fontaine, who's loosely based on Frank Sinatra, to come and perform at their casino, and that convince some of his Hollywood friends to do as well. I mean, that was a real thing. I mean, if you're wondering why Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin and Don Rickles and why all these guys were performing at certain places in Vegas, women too, the mob had a hand in that. They absolutely had a hand in that. Jimmy Naranti, he told a famous story of how mobsters would come in when he was doing a show with Peter Lawford, and actual mob guys would come and, "Hey Lawford, get your brother-in-law Bobby Kennedy to butt out of our business, or else." I mean, they all had the stories. They were really mixed. It was a dangerous world sometimes, a dangerous conflagration of allegiances. In a minute, we're going to be in front of the home again. Somebody just pulled up across the street, but the chances that they know whose home it is or was. There it is. Let's walk over there again. Let's film the house again. He doesn't want to do it, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care about mob history. All he cares about is grass and trees and squirrels. So here's the home again, folks. Plenty of security signs. I see at least 3 just out front. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that comes here to film. Or has been here to film. Especially since the address is listed all over the internet. And before that it was in books and everything else. Alright, well I guess I should call it there, but I think it's that window next to the front door there. To the right of the front door as you're facing out to the street. To my left as I'm facing the house. And it appears to be the only window I see with bars on it. So that could be where it all went down. Alright folks, I think I'll call it there. My name is Ron. Thanks a lot for watching and listening. Let's get into the sun a little bit for a minute. If you like the channel, please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. If you have subscribed, please hit the little bell icon next to the subscription button and you'll be notified as to when I post. And please give the channel likes. I'd really appreciate it. All right, folks, we'll see you at the next adventure. Thanks a lot. Fade out on the house, and bye-bye.